How I saved $100,000 in under 3 years. So recently, I've managed to have $100,000 in my bank account, a feat I never thought was possible for me this early in my life. This wasn't ever really my goal, it just so happened that I kept saving, and here we are. So I'll go over how this was possible for me in under 3 years. The reason I say under 3 years is because I had not much at all at the start of 2021, and coming close to the end of 2023, I'm already at 100K. So it took me less than 3 years to save $100,000. I didn't start from $0, but it's not like I started from $90,000 either. And if anything, I could have very easily said this was a 2-year achievement, but that's sort of clickbait, and I feel 3 years is more of a realistic time frame for most people. Although I guess 2 years has more of a shock factor, whatever. I've decided to say 3 years. I'll elaborate closer to the end of the video on how there is $100,000 saved in under 3 years, but for now, I'll go over the 5 steps that help me save 6 figures in my bank account in under 3 years. Number 1, having an income stream / income streams that pay a lot. So for anyone who's new here, I work 7 days a week, full-time Monday to Friday as an accountant that earns decent money for my area. I'm still underpaid for my market skills, but that's outside the scope of this video. I also work both days, full 9-hour shifts at a local supermarket on the weekends. Both days are at penalty rates, so those shifts earn me some decent extra coin in comparison to other potential weekend jobs out there. I earn around $111,000 a year at the moment. Now, this does include some retirement fund money and some additional benefits relating to work, but the point is, the money is pretty good. So when you see videos of how I saved $100,000 in 2 years, and you can too, just know that it's bullshit unless you make a lot of money. You can't save $100,000 if you're a part-time university student who only makes $10,000 a year. So summarizing point 1, it's easier for me to save $100,000 in under 3 years because I make a lot. Work isn't the only way to make a lot of money, but generally it's your best bet. Most of my income comes from my 2 jobs. Now keep in mind, I wasn't on this amount starting out from 2021. I've had pay raises since then, so if I was to start out on this income, I would have gotten there sooner. And I'm also potentially in the books for yet another raise next financial year. So if I was on that money starting out, I'd have saved $100,000 even sooner. Point 2, not spending heaps of money on unnecessary stuff. So making a lot of money won't get you to having $100,000 in your bank account if you splurge on a heap of stuff. My money basically gets spent on groceries, fuel, gym membership, 2 phone plans, YouTube Premium and by extension YouTube Music, no Spotify here anymore, car registration / insurance, mechanic fees, Apple storage, and maybe a couple of other trivial things I can't think of at the moment. There's no retail therapy, no subscriptions to Disney+, Netflix, Stan, etc. No lavish holidays every few months, none of that. So a lot of the money I make tends to stay in the bank account. It doesn't go into the bank account, then back out. It tends to just go in the bank account and stay there. Number 3, living in a server with a weaker currency. Server equals country, in case you couldn't tell. Gamification of life, after all. So the Aussie dollar-y-doo is weaker than the currencies in most other developed nations. So although I am on good money, it's sorta inflated due to living in a country with a weaker currency. I talked about this in my hidden advantages of a weekend job video, but $100,000 is a lot of money to most people, unless you're a spoiled snob. But 100,000 yen is not. So that's why videos of people saying, I make X amount of dollars do well. Generally 6 figures in dollar terms is a great amount of money. It just so happens Australia also uses dollars. And although our local currency isn't super weak or devalued, it is generally weaker than many other developed nations. Example, the British pound is like twice as strong as the Aussie dollar. So if you translate 100,000 Aussie dollars, that's like 50,000 British pounds. So I didn't lie, I do have $100,000 in my bank account, and this is a phenomenal effort. But chances are, based on my analytics, you're in a country with a stronger currency. So you making six figures in your currency is probably a bit harder to do than it is for me. Now keep in mind that Australia doesn't pay its white-collar professionals as well as other developed nations. Australia mainly focuses on the blue-collar trades and government roles, which is not my current field, although I guess I could pivot into that in the future if I want, but Australia's economics are a story for another time. So if you're in the United States making $100,000 a year as some sort of marketing manager, for example, you wouldn't find a job paying $160,000 plus Australian dollars here for the same role. You'd probably find the same $100,000 but in Aussie terms, if that makes sense. It's the same way I can't find a part-time $30,000 a year supermarket job if I went to the Philippines. I doubt I'd be able to find a part-time 1 million peso per year supermarket job if I moved to the Philippines where my mum was from. The currency translations aren't one-to-one when talking about jobs. So yes, our currency, the Aussie dollary-doos, is weaker, but I'm also being paid less for my white-collar profession than I'd get overseas if you translated it for a similar location, years of experience, etc., like in the US, for example. Number 4, primarily directing savings into a bank account, not investments. So all this money could have been used for something else. I could have slowly dollar cost averaged into the stock market, so I wouldn't have $100,000 in savings. A lot more of that would be in stocks. It could very well have been a how I made a $100,000 stock portfolio in under 3 years video. But I didn't put this into the market as I need the value of my money to stay around the same value for my land. There's always the chance the value in the stock market dips at the time I need my deposit for the land/house/real estate, so that's why it's been sitting in the bank account instead of being put into the market. I need that money for another investment. So in a way, you could say it was easier to hit $100,000 in savings when that's where all your money is being focused on. Number 5, high interest savings accounts. So depending on which bank you choose, you can get pretty good savings rates. And this helps with growing the balance of your bank account, the same way your stock portfolio would increase over time. This year, I made around $3,000 in interest from the bank, which helped pad out the bank balance. That's like a pay slip from the office and a pay slip from the supermarket given to me for free. So now we'll go over extra sizable costs in the meantime. Now I did go over what my money is spent on earlier in the video, but between 2021 and 2023, there has been some sizable chunks of money taken out of my bank account. So I did still manage a $100,000 savings account despite these costs. Let's briefly mention them. $16,250 for the 5% portion of my land payment. Now this was required to essentially hold my spot for the portion of land being developed for me. So if your goal was to save $100,000 ASAP, you could have just not bought land and had an extra $16,250 sitting in your account. Of course, this is an investment, so this is a smarter move with your money. But this goes to show how having 6 figures sitting in your bank account isn't the best way to increase your wealth. It just so happens that my land is taking forever to develop, as are many other developments in my state of Victoria here in Australia. So if this land didn't take 2+ years to develop, I'd be down $48,750 in my bank account, as this is the remaining 15% deposit I need for my land. So I wouldn't have the elusive 6-figure bank account, but I'd be able to get my real estate investment started sooner. So in this parallel universe where the land is ready on time, I'd be closer to being wealthy, since I'd be able to go for investment property number 2 sooner and receive rental income sooner. But that's a story for another video. So the money stat is increasing in the current game of life, but the investment stat is slipping due to the land delay. 6,000 plus on laser hair removal. So I started laser in 2021 and I've spent around $6,000 so far on it. Now some of these sessions are prepaid, so I haven't used them up yet, but that is still money that left my account. Now whether laser hair removal is worth it for you or not is your choice. It's made my life easier by not having to shave my neck and body twice a week, but I don't know if it's $6,000 more convenient. Either way, I've done it now. So if your goal was to save 6 figures, you could look at sodding this off. So once again, we have a stat balancing act. Aesthetics is increasing as I don't get as many shaving rashes on my body / my body spends more time being more clean, but it's cost me a good chunk of coin. Now keep in mind, a lot of this effect is long lasting. So in due time, I'll only need a session every few months, so it's not like I have to spend $6,000 every 2 years to keep the effects going. The cost drastically decreases over time. It just requires a decent upfront investment. $1,500 plus on Botox, so I get Botox to remove the visibility of wrinkles on my forehead, as for some reason my forehead creases really badly, so I basically get this hidden every few months until I need to go in for another injection. This is super worthwhile for me as it keeps me looking way younger than I am. So once again, another shift in stats. Aesthetic goes up, but money goes down. There's also several $100 relating to dental as well. I could have just let my teeth rot, but obviously this was also a worthwhile investment. Of course, I have no idea whether the dentist was ripping me off or not, but you know, she's the expert, not me. $13,000-ish for my car. I bought this in 2021. This was because my old car was falling to bits, so I needed a new car. If your goal is saving 6 figures in under 3 years, don't have a shitty rundown car before you try to hit your savings goal. So rough math, that's roughly an extra $37,000 I'd have in my bank account if I didn't need to spend any money on any of these areas. There's been some other small unnecessary costs that have added up, such as me paying $250 in advance for a secondary gym membership that I used 3 times before realizing my old gym was better. Spending money on phone bills when I could have been on cheaper plans the whole time, paying full price for Spotify and then realizing that CPA students get half price, then also realizing paying for YouTube Premium gives me access to YouTube Music for free. Smaller shit like that probably added up over time. Could very easily have been close to the $40,000 mark in extra money, if I really made that my goal. I also paid around $8,800 on my tax bill for the financial year ended 2022, when I should have gone to a tax accountant who would have culled that down way lower. So maybe I would have saved $3,000 plus from that too. So many money mistakes, but hey, at least I know them for later in life when I really start rolling in the big bucks. Now, if you go all the way back to this video on screen now, I show how much I had in my bank accounts at that time. Yes, I didn't start from $0. However, the title of this video mentions in under 3 years. I did save $100,000 in under 3 years from roughly this time in 2021, since it's only been like 2 years. I didn't start with 0, but at the same time, I didn't have intentions of hitting this savings goal. If it was my goal, I could have just not spent the almost $40,000 I did on other areas of my life. So if you want to be a giga nerd about this, we can take what I had in my bank account at the time of that video and add 3 years to that time frame, then budget how much I should have in that amount of time. But given the fact I'm even more frugal with my money now, yes, inflation is higher, but I'm also earning more, and I'm probably set for another pay raise, I could easily save $100,000 within 3 years if I had to start from $0 given my new rates of pay. But that's assuming no land deposit, no new car, etc. But of course this won't happen, as my land should be ready in under 3 years' time, so I'll have a huge deposit required for the land and the house, and then I'll have mortgage repayments, and extra money will go into a mortgage offset account, not a high savings bank account. So these upcoming months is the only time in my life where I'll have more than 6 figures in the bank account. After that, there'll be a mortgage offset account, then a second property, and other investments such as stocks. So for now, I'll enjoy the juicy interest I receive from the bank and enjoy the luxury of having a 6-figure bank account. I figured I may as well make this video super close to the date of when I actually hit a 6-figure bank account. So that's how I was able to save $100,000 in under 3 years. A combination of earning a lot, not spending much, and having a weaker currency. Thanks for watching. That is all.